This is an express train, and the next stop is TMG.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to TMG. I'm your host, Travis Patton Sr. I enjoy discovering and sharing real-life moments of inspiration from everyday people. And this show is about finding moments of inspiration for our everyday lives. And look, and if you're going to tell me something, then tell me something good. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TMG. I'm your host, Travis Patton Sr. Guys, I'm so excited to be here today. Guys, real quick, don't forget to visit our Facebook page. That's Tell Me Something Good with the capital T. And before I get started, guys, as always, I want to thank everybody for joining in today, guys. Of course, I'll get started, guys, and where I always get started. I want to thank my lovely wife, Nicole, for being my biggest supporter, guys. Without her, I would not be as successful on this show without her. So, Nicole, thank you, girl. That's a shout out. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in and listening. Whether you're right here in the United States that's listening, or if you're listening halfway around the world, because in a very short time, guys, this show has really taken off in a big way, in a very huge way, and it's being heard in dozens and dozens and dozens of countries all around the world. I'm so excited. Maybe you stream in every week right here, every Thursday on Facebook Live at 4 p.m. Central Time, and you decide to tune in and listen. So thank you for being a faithful listener. And maybe this is your very first time tuning in, your very first time listening to the show. Thank you so much for joining in. I am so glad that you decided to listen. So, whatever you're doing right now at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time or 4 p.m. your time, I'm glad you're tuning in with TMG. Guys, I'm glad you're here. Guys, today's topic, we're going to talk about the beep. Yeah, today's topic, guys, we're talking about the beep. And what made me think about this is I was watching a medical show, a medical drama, and as I was watching this medical drama, I began to think about life and how life is measured and how life is short and how we don't have much time and we have to make the best use of the time that we're given. Life is a precious gift, and we have to make sure that we are treating it as a gift. And what do we do with the time that we have been given? So I was watching this medical show, and they were operating. And as they were operating on this patient they had in the show, you first you couldn't hear anything. At first, all you heard was just the doctors asking for different, different instruments in the operating room. And then all you heard in the background, if you listen closer, all you could hear was the heart monitor that the patient was connected to. All you heard was that constant beep, beep sound. And I noticed when an incident occurred or something happened, the beeping went away. And when the beeping went away, it caused everyone to get into a rush. Everyone got into a hurry because the sound of the beep was gone. Now, and that let me think that as long as there was a beep, as long as they could hear the beep, then it meant everything was okay. It meant that life was working. But the moment the beep stopped, that's when everything changed. That's when everybody got in a hurry. That's when everybody got in a rush. That's when the beep stopped, it changed the game. And that's what made me begin to think about today's topic, guys, the beep. And a lot of times, I know we like to think life is sort of a straight line, right? We like to think that life is kind of linear. It's a straight line. And we like to kind of think that way. But I've learned life is not a straight line. It's full of ups and downs. As a matter of fact, life is measured by the valleys we have, kind of like a heart monitor. And let me kind of throw up a picture so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone who may have seen been in the hospital, or when you were visiting someone, or maybe, you were there or you watched it on TV and you've seen a heart monitor, kind of similar to this, where it had its ups and down parts on it, and it kind of shows you how many beats per minute you're getting, possibly your blood pressure, but it showed a lot of information. But a lot of things it showed was the squiggly lines that kind of went up and down and up and down. And that's what I mean. Life is not a straight line. And as you look at this, you can see that life is not a straight line. It's ups and downs. It has peaks. It has valleys, kind of like this heart monitor. And listen, if there were no valleys, then there would be no life. If it didn't go up and down, then it would be no life. Life is measured in between the peaks and valleys. Yeah. So they measure how strong your heart or life is in between the beeps on a heart monitor. Yeah, they can measure how strong your heart or your life is in between the beeps on a heart monitor, and the amount of time it takes before the next beep allows the doctors and the nurses and other healthcare workers know how strong your heart is. It also can provide valuable information on possible recovery, right? So in other words, your recovery can be measured by the ability to bounce back. And all of it's done is because they're listening for the beat. They're listening for the beat. Life is measured in between the beat. If there was no beat, there would be no life. If there was no peaks and valleys, you would have no life. It takes the ups and the downs. So they listen for the beeps. Guys, I'm telling you, they listen for the beeps, and depending on how soon that goes back up, it lets them know how strong your heart or how strong your life is. So in other words, our recovery or your recovery can be measured by your ability to bounce back. Yeah, your ability to bounce back. Now, isn't it kind of funny though? I thought that it was kind of funny that how when looking at life at a heart monitor, absolutely no one wants to see a straight line. Yeah, when you're looking at a heart monitor, nobody wants to see a straight line. And it's beeping. And your life. And nobody wants to see that. And I thought it was kind of funny that when looking at a heart monitor, absolutely no one wants to see a straight line. And when you do, that's when they say a person has flatlined. It means the heart's activity has ceased. And I thought, man, how funny. That's kind of funny, because funny how we like to think of life. You know, sometimes we like to think of life as one long straight line, going from the time we are born until the time we die. But clearly, it can't be a straight line, because if it is a straight line, that means their heart has no more activity. There's no more life. life is measured in between the beeps. So I thought it was kind of funny how we like to think of life as one long straight line going from the time we are born until the time we die. In fact, if there were a flat line, we would have no activity. But it's the activity of the heart that keeps us alive. Guys, what it is that keeps us alive, it's the beat. It's the beat that keeps us alive. It's the ups and the downs that keeps us alive. Guys, listen. We think in terms of flat lines, but life is always carried out in between the beep. Yeah, life is carried out in between the beep. Remember, they measure how long it takes for the beep to hit bottom and return back to the top. Life is measured, and life always happens in between the beat. Yeah, I know sometimes we like to think that life is happened every time we get a good report, and life happens every time there's something good that's happening for us. But to be truthful, to be honest about it, life always happens in between the beeps. Life is carried out in between the beeps. So when someone is connected to a heart monitor, they're listening for the beep. They're listening for the beep because life is measured in the beep. Life happens in the beep. Your dreams happen in between the beep. What you hope to be happens in between the beep. If you wanted to turn around, it's going to happen in between the beep. Guys, listen. Life is, I began to think about it. I said, man, life is just full of irony. You know, life is just full of irony. And that's how I think about it. Life is just one of those things that is just full of irony. It has both up and down moments. Life does. Life has moments that are both up and down. And what's crazy about it is this, that and sometimes the things that carry us up will also bring us down. We can get excited about one thing and become disappointed in the very thing that we just became excited about. Yeah, listen, you know what I'm talking about, and become so disappointed in the very thing we just got through telling everybody about. In one moment, we could stop talking about the wonderful news we got or about the new job we got, and 6 months later, we begin to question if we hadn't made the worst mistake in our lives. Just irony. Life is full of irony like that, guys. And listen, for example, you know, we're telling everybody how excited we are about the job. 6 months later into it, we begin to complain about it. You know, we start saying things like, no, it's too much work, or the boss or the supervisor doesn't like you, or we get a new car, or the tires on the car that we wanted cost too much. It costs too much to keep the car up. Life just has lots of moments that are full of irony. As a matter of fact, life itself is an irony of sorts. Yeah, let me explain what I mean. Life itself is an irony of sorts. We all begin as cells, right? We begin as cells, fighting to get here, fighting to be born, fighting to have a voice, fighting to exist. And as we begin to get older, as we begin to age, the cells in our body begin to die. So the same cells that we're fighting to get here are the same cells that begin to take us out, begin to die. So ups and downs. Life happens in between the beeps. Guys, listen. And here's what I'm thinking about. We're comparing this. We're comparing life. We're comparing life to a heart monitor. The squiggly lines that you notice on a heart monitor that we all may have seen before, or whether we were in a hospital or whether we were visiting someone in the hospital or seen it on some television drama show. And we kind of seen it that the ups and downs we've seen on a heart monitor with all of its ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And when I was studying this, let me kind of briefly explain when I say it's measured in the ups and the downs and the peaks and the valleys. So let me kind of briefly explain it a little bit. The vertical waves, I'm gonna bring the picture back up. The waves that we see are cut into 5 sections, right? And just bear with me, guys. I know. Bear with me. And to all the medical professionals out there, I get it. This is the dumbed down version of it. So I get it. So the vertical waves we see are kind of cut into 5 sections. And they all have assigned letters to them. P, Q, R, S, and T. P is the small hump before the dip. So right before the dip, you'll have a P, right? That's a small little hump before it goes down. Q is a tiny dip right before the spike, right before it goes all the way to the top. That's the Q. And R is the actual spike itself. S is the dip after the spike, and T is the low spike after the dip. So you have all of those making the valley, making that wave. So in other words, you have the letters P, Q, R, S, and T, and life happens in between those 5 letters. So here's what I'm saying is this. Everything happens in between the beeps. And I know we want everything to go well in our life. We want everything to be perfect. But truth be told, if there is no beep, then there is no life. Listen, so what does all this mean? Where it all happens? Life cannot happen without peaks and valleys. It takes the ups and the downs. Listen, that we experience, that life rides the wave on these things. And listen, and we can't shut down either. We can't shut down just the bad and experience just the good. And we can't shut down just the good and not ever experience the bad, because life happens in between the beeps, because life hangs in the balance of the beeping. Our dreams and hopes are hanging in the balance of the beep. You ever notice how, and if the beeping ever stops, whatever is hanging in the balance begins to stop also. When the beeping gets the toughest, it's hanging in the balance. If it stops, whatever was hanging in the balance also stops. You want it to beep because it's something is hanging in the balance. Listen, a better perspective is hanging in the balance of the beat. The chance at a better you is hanging in the balance of the beat. That's why if something happens and there is no longer a beep, everyone runs into the room, rushing around and getting into a hurry because something is hanging in the balance. Listen, when you have something hanging in the balance, you can't afford to do casual. Yeah, when something is hanging in the balance, You can't afford to do casual. You can't settle for everything. Listen, you can't waste your time when something is hanging in the balance. You can't be taking a rest when it's time to get moving because something is hanging in the balance. Treat your career, treat your future, treat your relationships and yourself the same way because something is hanging in the balance. Listen, and if something ever happens to the person on the heart monitor, if something ever happens to the person on that monitor, the nurses and the doctors and other healthcare workers, others fight like crazy to revive the person. And at that moment, it doesn't matter how talented you are or where you graduated from. All that counts, all that matters is your next beat. They're not going to stop and ask you where you went to school. They're not going to say, we can't revive you because you never graduated. They're not going to say, because you can only read at a third grade level. All that matters is the next beat. We must live, we've got to surround ourselves. And we must have those around us that want to see us get up. Listen, so if something ever happens, the doctors and nurses, they all rush in. We must have those around us that want to see us get up and surround ourselves, with those that want us to have a better day, those that want us to have a better time, and surround ourselves with those who believe our best days are not over. Get around people that become excited when they hear your beep. Listen, what I'm saying is this. Our greatest achievement won't be the things we accomplish out there. Our greatest achievement will be the things we accomplish in here within ourselves. Because if you lose your beep, nothing else out there will matter. Nothing else out there will ever matter. Every time you beep, it means you're still in here. It means you have another chance, another opportunity, another way out, another chance to turn things around. Don't blink, because you're beginning to beep right now. Listen, guys, whatever you do, don't lose your beat. I know, right? And that's it, guys. Listen, guys, I'm excited about today's topic. The beat, guys. We can't lose our beat. And get around people. Surround ourselves with those individuals that don't care about your past. They don't care where you came from. All they care about is your beat. And if we aren't surrounding ourselves with those who care about our beat, then when difficult times come, when hardships arise, if something happens to your beat, you won't have those around you to help revive you. Guys, it's been good, but it's time for me to go. I got to get out of here. Listen, don't forget to visit our Facebook page, guys. That's Tell Me Something Good with the capital T. And guys, don't forget, you can visit us on all your favorite podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and so many more. Guys, I get out of here. It's been a real blast as always. And always, if you're going to tell me something, then tell me something good. I'm out of here. Peace.